Hey, Cody, thank you so much for taking the time out your busy schedule and doing a quick interview with me. I got a few questions here. And one of the great things is we literally just met in like the last week. So
Right.
that's right. It's like the people I'm meeting through eXp Realty is amazing. And it's like our paths may have never crossed if it wasn't for this opportunity. So, just to go ahead and jump in, can you just tell me a little bit about yourself and how you kind of got into the field of real estate?
Um, oh my goodness. So very short version. I had been in corporate America for years. I was the national sales training marketing manager for JP Morgan Chase coast to coast for
Oh,
all retail banking. And I just call it a God wink, quite frankly. There's many times where I feel like God hits you upside the head and is like,
yes.
you know, this isn't where I want you anymore. And
Yep.
and and it was crazy because I can remember, and I know a lot of people can really relate to this. I had a good job, I made good money, I had a great boss. Honestly, I when people looked from the outside in, when I went to leave, they're like, "What are you
Why are you
doing?"
doing it? Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And real estate had always been something that pulled on my heart, and I think a lot of people feel that, but I didn't really know why. And it pulled on my heart for me because I was raised by a single mom. Had never owned a home. We moved
Yep.
25 times by the time I
Same
graduated
here.
high school.
Oh my
And
God.
so, yeah, crazy,
Talk about the
right?
connection. Like my friends in high school used to make fun of me because we moved so much. They was like, "Are you guys in some kind of secret service program?" But we
Right.
moved a lot, and my mom was a single parent of four children. So
Yeah.
I totally understand that.
And it was just one of those things that I share this often. I remember going to like a shop class in high school, and one of our things was to build our dream home, and everybody built these like gigantic pool on the roof, 18 garages, these like pimped out homes that you see in like rap videos,
Right.
right? And here I built this simple little ranch, with a room for myself, a room for my mom, and that was my dream. And so real estate had always pulled on my heart. And I think after I'd worked in corporate America so long, we would have our third daughter, and I seen how quickly time went. And
Yes.
I know it was God telling me, like, hey, you're ready to move on. You can
Yep.
do this. And I kept saying, no, 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 no. Like, this is comfort. This is security,
That's what I was
safety.
gonna say. That sense of comfort, because some people think you only change when something's bad. But the
Yeah.
hardest change usually comes when you're comfortable because you're like,
Oh,
this is
absolutely.
working. This is good. Why should I leave? Why should I
Hmm.
cause turbulence in my life? I'm comfortable. Those are
Right.
usually the hardest times to change. So that's amazing.
And it was so, what's so funny is I am an all in or all out kind of person at my core with everything. And even then it was all in or all out. I was like, okay, like I'm just not going back to work. Like I went to my maternity leave for our third daughter. I'm not going back. I had no plan. I was on the no plan, right?
Wow. Talk about
And
faith.
I know it was crazy. And I had a small season in there. I stayed home with our girls for 3.5 years. Like, shout out to all my work at home and stay at home moms because that was the hardest freaking gig of my life, quite frankly.
I quit a
Three,
babysitting gig. It was three
oh,
children, my niece and nephew. I was like, I'm out of here.
so
This is hard. That is very hard. Yes.
it is. And it was, I'm glad I had that season of my life, but shout out again to like network marketers, direct marketers. I ran a home business in direct marketing for 3 years. I knew it was never my end all journey, but I
Mhm.
made good money doing that, staying at home with our kids. I needed something to be, I needed outside the home again. I am a like an adrenaline kind of award junkie.
Yeah.
I wasn't getting any accolades and awards at home, right? Nobody's giving me end
Nobody.
of the year, mom of the year award. So,
Even though you guys all deserve it, all
right?
deserve it, all the best.
Absolutely. So, this idea of real estate still just stuck in my head, and we were at really a weird crossroads as well. Anyways, we had been through an adoption that didn't work out, and we were in Georgia. We were moving back to Michigan. So the crazy part of my story that a lot of people don't know is when we moved back to Michigan, I didn't move into a sphere. I didn't have anybody here that knew me from real estate before. So July 2018, we moved back here. We buy a 300,000 plus dollar home. We
Okay.
then later find out that my husband's job can't be remote. right? So he's going to then work out his job for the next couple months. We're going to lose his income. I've been a stay-at-home mom for 3.5 years. Now just starting my real estate business, right?
Oh, wow. And this is
And I didn't know
2018, right?
anyone here
Because
because my last,
this is
yeah,
2018 and we're only 2020.
2018.
So I just want people to understand that she's not telling a story that happened 10 or 15 years ago within the last 2 years. I'm excited. Go ahead, Coti. I want to hear it.
So it was crazy. We talk about those God winks, and I said, I knew that this was going to be successful because it had to. Like
Had
I didn't
to.
have a plan B. This
Yep.
was our plan A, and I only had room for A game, right?
Yep.
So I moved forward with my license in Michigan, and like I said, when I worked here before, I worked for corporate America, and I traveled all the time. So I didn't really know anyone here. I didn't network. When I was done with a corporate work week, I stayed at home with my family and my babies. I didn't want to meet other people. So I didn't have a networking, vibe going on. So July 2018, got licensed, started actually practicing real estate when my girls went to school in September. Cause I'm like, I'm going to spend this month and a half with them. They started going to school in September and I hit the ground running. So in my first full year in real estate, I did over 50 transactions and over 10 million in business.
Whoa, wait a minute. Back up, Coti. Wait a minute. That is, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Okay. You said 50, right?
50, 50.
No network in a new
Mm-hmm.
city. And you know how much you got to learn when you first get in real estate? Because people are
Oh,
like, oh, I went to real estate school. Yeah, but they didn't teach you how to sell real estate, right?
right, right.
How? How did you
So,
do 50 transactions? First of all, you have a full-time home, 3 children,
right, yeah.
again, in a new state, a new career. Briefly, because I'm sure that's a whole nother, we can go down a whole nother path with that one.
Mm-hmm.
How the hell did you do that?
Right. So it's funny because now I look back at it too, and I'm like, on one hand, while I was doing it, I'm like, this is, whatever your normal is your normal. You ever have a piece of your story you share with someone and they look at you and
Yes.
they're like, you're kidding me.
But that's all you know. So yes,
But that's
I've
all you
been there.
know.
Yep.
So when I look back at it now, I'm like, that was nuts, right? We had an 8-year old, a 6-year old, a 4-year old, and we were in a new community. My husband now was unemployed, looking for work while I was building a real and that little nugget there was funny because he got offered a couple jobs that would require him to travel quite a bit at that time. And I'm like, that's not going to work.
It's not gonna
And we
work.
made the
You're
decision.
out of the house doing 50 transactions. I don't think people understand. You're dealing with 50 different people, 50 different attitudes, 50 different issues
Mhm.
to solve. Like that's not like, oh, they just walked up and you give paperwork. Like that's one transaction can be very heavy. So 50 in a year, like
Yeah.
Jesus. Okay.
and and not so I'll give you the breakdown too because then there's all this other miscommunication too. I started on a team, right? I
Okay.
started on a team, and that team that I started on did rely heavily on leads. My personal experience, which is all I can talk from,
Yep.
we had Realtor and Zillow, and I started working with leads in the beginning. And what I tended to find were, it's funny because I always talk about real estate still to this day because it's only 2.5 years in, right? I
Yeah.
feel like an outsider looking in, and I always am trying to find what makes me better, what makes this business better.
Yep.
And to me, I'm on a like defund Zillow path. Quite frankly, Zillow's probably not going to hear that. Um, I love the fact that it's a great tool to get started. What my
Mhm.
experience was as a new agent was the people clicking. I worked twice as hard for their business and for their relationship,
Yep.
right? They were quick to move on. Like, God forbid, I'd be in the middle of dinner or something with my family and I say, okay, the quickest I can get you in is tomorrow morning or even later tonight. They were going to find an agent that could go there in an hour.
Right. Because they don't really, you haven't built a relationship with them.
Right.
They don't,
So I found
you're just another click on a internet.
exactly. And people don't understand that, it's an at bat, so when people talk about leads, I'm like, you still have to win that
You
relationship. You still have to earn that business,
Yep. And I
right?
think I just was talking to an agent recently and I was telling them, it's also a numbers game too, right? People like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, that doesn't, because EXP, if you're, especially for new agents, is really great. They have OpCity. That kind of
Absolutely.
helps them, which is kind of like a Zillow, but we won't get into that.
Mhm.
But I'm letting them know you still have to develop a relationship with that person once you get on the phone with them, right? And then you
Right.
also have to realize that you may be one of 10 agents that they already have spoken to. So what are you
Mhm.
going to give them a value to make them want to work with you? So it's
Absolutely.
still like you feed in leads, but if you don't have that technology and system and strategy in place, the leads aren't going to be really worth what they could be. So
Right. I love that you said that. So at EXP, we talk with our team because I am a huge advocate of 100% referral business, but I also am a realist where I
yeah,
understand that it takes some time,
to get
and
there.
especially in this world right now where we can't be out, at events and doing stuff, it takes some time to network. Op City, as if I look back at the old me, that would have been a much easier
Yep.
platform and a much more user friendly because here I was on a team, any lead was getting split 50-50.
Oh,
And so I'm doing the hard work. I'm giving 50% to my team lead, right?
oh, I
And
talked about that yesterday with the other agent. I was like, 50%. I don't care if you gave me the fish. If I got to give you 50% after doing all the work,
right,
that's a lot of money. I don't want to
right.
get nobody 50% of nothing.
Uh, you are going to be blown away when you hear the numbers that I paid then. So when I started that, like I said, on the team, to me, it was absorb everything, right? I,
Yep.
I worked so much, as much transactions as I did and as much income as I made, I still worked for free a lot. Don't
Yep.
get me wrong, right?
Yep.
Because I was on a 50-50 split with any leads. But I quickly, within about 6 months, was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I
Yep.
don't want to give 50% of my money away. I don't want to work twice as hard for a relationship and for business.
Yep.
And so it didn't make sense. So my whole mission was work this out of my business. In my first year, I produced at about a 70% referral rate, 30% lead rate.
Gotcha.
Then going into my second year, I pulled the band-aid off. I'm like,
Yep.
I can live without that 30% of business if I absolutely had to. But to me, it meant I need to be more consistent then with asking for the business. I need to
Yep.
be more consistent with letting people know I'm always here and I need their business.
Well, you know what?
Um,
That's always scary for, I don't know if it's just realtors or, and me, I've been in the business going into my third year now. And I'm just learning from you guys and the training on ask for the sale, ask for the business. And at first I was like, I don't like, it's scary to ask, but it's like, no, I have value. I'm going to bring value to the table. I'm going to ask and I'm going to tell everybody that I know that I'm doing this. But
right,
nobody told me to do that until I start, getting around the spaces with you guys. Don't be
right.
afraid to ask for the sale.
Absolutely. I had a super like upside the head awakening. I was in the grocery store. It's a true story. I went to we're good as agents for showing people we're busy between our Instagram and our Facebook and
Yeah.
telling people we're just so busy, we're so busy. And we are, don't get me wrong. Like,
Yeah.
I always joke and say it's somewhat like being a house doctor, right? It's 24/7. There's zero boundaries, text messages, phone calls, but we're good at showing people we're busy.
Yep.
But the minute we close, let's be really clear, the minute I close your deal, I'm unemployed again. So
Yep.
I need to be having a pipeline.
Yep.
And so I went into a grocery store. I ran into a girl that from our church was part of our small group the year before. And she says, "Hey, so good to see you. We're catching up." And she said, "Yeah, I just put my condo on the market." And I sat there like, you try to give one of those faces like
Yes,
you're not
girl. I
like,
know. Every time I see somebody in my sphere close or sell a house, I used to be like, why? Then I'm like, how come then they didn't think about you? They
right.
didn't think about you because you didn't stay in top of mind marketing
Yeah.
aware. So it's
Well, this was a crazy story because she literally tells me, she goes, "I was going to reach out to you, but I know you're too busy." And I was like, oh my God, awakening here, right? Not only do I need to make sure that I'm telling people I always have time for them, that I want their business, but I need to make sure people understand that I'm busy, but that I'm continuing to be able to handle more business.
oh,
So
that's good, Coti. That's
it's
good. I
huge
never
because
thought about that.
I also think that as a newer agent, we want so hard to show people we're busy. And sometimes we have to show them the vulnerability of, hey, I need business.
Yep.
I remember walking into one of my very first listing appointments and they said, going up against other people. And they were like, why should we choose you? And I was like, because right now you'll be my only listing client. And I know that sounds scary to you, but guess what? I have more time to devote to you
I
than
just got
anyone else.
chills because some of us are so afraid to say we're new at something. I
Mhm.
just posted that on social media recently. Never be afraid to be a beginner
Mhm.
and not trying to hide that you're a beginner, but turning it
Right.
as you did into a strength because you're my only listing agent. All I got is you. Because, honey, sometimes these listing agents don't even answer the phone, but that's a whole nother story to show a house. I'm
Oh
in
my gosh,
Chicago, you're
right?
in Michigan. So,
I mean, that's so true. Being new at something doesn't mean you're bad at it, you know. And um,
transferable
you can talk about
skills.
past experience and skills, but the other thing is what I've come to find. It's funny because the more business you do, and I'm talking candidly with you on here, but I don't ever walk into a listing appointment or buyer presentation and talk to them about oh, I did 10 million my first year.
No.
I've done 13
They
million my
don't
second. Like,
care.
they don't
They don't.
care.
They want to know how are you going to sell their home. That's it.
Exactly. No one cares about your past and what you've done. You probably wouldn't be here if you didn't have that. And then what I do personally is I'll have a resume typed up. I put it in my CMAs. I put it, I make sure it's available so that clients can check out my credentials and my testimonials. But and if you have to in the beginning, I include past, achievements and credentials if you don't have them in real estate yet. But I leave that off to the side and let my clients say, hey, you can look at this when you're ready. I'm here to learn about you. I'm here to learn
Right.
about your home, your goals, your journey, because they don't care. And I think that's where a lot of these top agents, if you let ego run your transaction,
Woo!
okay, versus the relationship, everybody loses. But
Everybody,
if you
as soon
win,
as ego comes into place, it's doomed. It's doomed
mm-hmm,
because as humans, we are relation. We like relationships. So we always have to keep that in mind. And you can't get too big for the
mm-hmm,
relationship because without that,
right,
you have nothing. You don't have a business, especially as an
absolutely.
entrepreneur. All right, so let's go. You get in, you do 50 transactions, you like, hey, this is not gonna work. They taking 50% of my split. I gotta go. Where do you go next?
Yeah. So so little blip on the map, right? I'm on a team. That team lead says, I got my broker's license. I want to open a brokerage. I said, cool. I'm not going to go work at a brokerage because every boutique broker around here is like somebody's name. And
Yep.
that's one of the faults I feel still in this real estate game is, oh, James Smith, real estate. I don't want to be James Smith real estate. Like my long-term goal, I don't want it to be Coti Brown real estate either. I
Yeah.
want to build wealth alongside of other agents so that someday when I remove myself from the equation, because I do plan on pseudo retiring, that they can continue their business and they don't have to rebrand themselves, right?
Yep.
So when he broke off, we developed a partnership and we opened the brokerage together with the concept that I had been using of giving back.
Yes, I love
And
that. I reached out to you. It's amazing.
yes,
And see, even that, like this connection has made me see, I'm like, Coti, I got to figure out how to take that and put it into my business just by
mhm,
being aware that you're doing it. And now I can kind of model that in a way like that piece of your business that I really love.
yeah.
So,
And the thing is, a lot of realtors give back, right? Here's my personal feelings on it. We are the most important role in our communities, with the exception of maybe the doctor that's catching babies, right? We are housing our neighbors. If it doesn't get more important than that, in my opinion. So
wow.
to me, it is my responsibility to make sure I'm giving back in some way, shape, or form. Does that mean financial? Does that mean time served? What does that look like? But here's the other reality. That's a huge way for you as a business owner to make sure that they know who you are. No one cares that you're a realtor. I'm going to be honest. No, that sounds awful. No one cared that I was a realtor in the beginning because there are, 4,300 licensed
It's so
realtors in
many
our
of
area.
us. It's so
Right.
many of us.
They didn't care what I knew as a real estate agent. And in this market, when houses sell, they can sell their house with anybody. What's the difference between Julia, you list in the house or me list in the house? We're both going to sell the house,
Yep.
right? So I needed them to know who I was before they knew what I did. And now I am branded and known in our community as, oh yeah, that's that agent that she serves in our community. Her and her husband do things in our community. So
Let's
Once
talk
we got,
about that really quick. I don't know
yeah.
if you are, because I always say I'm not selling homes, I'm selling me. Because
Mhm.
again, that's it's like the guy that one of the founders of McDonald's, he's like, you think I'm selling cheeseburgers, but I'm really in the real estate business. So you have to
Mhm.
know, especially as a new agent, what you're coming into. People are going to do this transaction maybe once or twice in their lifetime at the most, right?
Mhm.
What else can you give them? And they're only going to do it at this point in time. I can't sell somebody on selling a house. What I can do is show them who I am, and that when that time comes, they'll choose me from the impact,
Mhm.
like you say, you make in the community and who you are as a person. So,
Right. Right. Yeah. And you have, and if that's not somebody's jam, they have to find what drives them in
what it
real estate,
is.
right?
Yep.
All of our team that in our organization and a lot of folks like yourself that we network with and we work with, they're driven by the want to serve in some
Yep.
capacity. And maybe that means once a year, maybe it means quarterly, transactionally, whatever it means, they're wanting to leave the community and their clients, their professional partners, supporters, and they want to leave them better than they found them. That's what drives me. Let's be really clear. There's some transactions that suck. There are some that are
Honey, it's
ugly.
some people that I be wanting to like
Right.
throw back to
There,
the wall.
there are some that are ugly, and there are some that
Yeah, and some of them it just be difficult. Like it ain't all peaches and cream like people be thinking it is. Like
yeah.
sometimes
And
sometimes
sometimes you get that big check and you're like, oh, this is the biggest, I remember getting one of the biggest checks that I had gotten and still thinking like, oh dear God, I went to war for this
for
check.
that check.
Right.
Like you because like you said, we don't have set hours. They call, they email, they text. So when you break it down to, yeah, you got it in a lump sum, but if you break down sometimes the work you did to get to the closing
Right.
table, that dollar per
So,
hour may be lower. But then sometimes you may get somebody that's so easy, you didn't, so
mhm,
it kind of always balance each other out.
yeah.
Okay, so
So
you
that,
went to start this new company.
yeah. So,
Just in the sake of time, you
yeah. So, and that's where the serving part comes in. That's why we give back, is because some of those transactions stink. So if I could pour out, it fills my cup back up, right? So
yep.
went to the brokerage. We partnered with this local broker. Got to about 1 year time frame and started looking at what I was paying in broker overhead and fees between branch,
Ooh.
our royalty marketing fee that we started as a brokerage and broker splits on stuff. I paid $150,000. 150,000. Some people would love $150,000 period, right?
Yeah, that's a lot. That's
It's
so
brutal.
funny because my first year in real estate, the broker I was working with, he sat me down and he asked me like, where did I see myself going in this industry? And I said, I don't want to own my own brokerage. I said, because I've seen him run around behind agents, with
Yes.
compliance. I'm just not that detailed. I am a big picture thinker, so I miss all the details. So me managing like the paperwork compliance of a company sounds like a nightmare
Mhm.
for
Yeah.
me. So I was like, I don't know. I kind of want to coach people because that's, I have a master's in training and development and I come from that space and I love encouraging people. I don't know what it's going to look like.
Hmm.
So when I saw this opportunity, I was like,
Right.
this is it. Like, this is it. So for you, it was the $150,000 as an
For me,
independent.
it was twofold. Like one, I don't, like you said, I watched the gentleman we partnered with as a broker. And here I was on the footsteps of needing to get my broker's license for us to,
Yep.
have this brokerage ownership officially together. And every aspect of what came with being a broker made me want to throw up in my mouth. I'm like, I don't like any of it. It's not where I want to spend my time. And I'm like,
Yep.
I didn't go to work for myself to
To
hate working for myself. Like this sounds terrible.
exactly. That is the key. Like I'm really good at analyzing where I am and seeing the people in my life and where they are and saying yay or nay. And
Yeah.
it's nothing to them. It's just like that's not for me. I
Yeah.
don't. That doesn't feel good, and that comes with a lot of self-awareness. I think to understanding and being honest with yourself. Like some people like the title. Oh, I own my own
Mhm.
brokerage. Yeah, but you're paying $150,000 in
Yeah.
fees, and you running around chasing agents, and you're boggled down, and that just didn't look appetizing to me.
Well, in little secret, I feel like a good amount of brokers are on that same. What you just said, I have. talked behind the scenes to multiple small to medium-sized brokers in our area that will reach out, and it's always the same conversation. Well, I don't, they'll come at you. It's almost like, it reminds me of my kids, where they're trying to talk you into something, but they're going to tell you all the reasons it's not going to work, right? He's like, well, if I move my brokerage there, I'm not going to make as much money. I'm not going to do this. And on the same token, they're coming to you, and some have been candid enough to say, I'm stressed out. My marriage is in jeopardy.
Yep.
My relationship with my agents is awful. And I watched Go for a long time. And then I watched Mark and I watched other people. And I'm going to be honest, because I had people around me that had told me negative things, obviously, about eXp, told me negative things about the leaders within eXp that I had followed. And these were people that I trusted. These were people that I knew. And it just kept nagging at me. And so I even...
That's that God wink, though. That's that internal, like, God is speaking to your spirit. And that's why, like, they're like, oh, eXp agents are into recruiting. I'm not really into recruiting anybody, because I think deep down, I'll attract you, you'll attract me, and it will be in alignment.
Yeah.
I'm not after to get people. I'm after my people will come to me because of the opportunity. They'll feel it, and it'll be something really deep down in their spirit that you just can't shake it.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. I also think it's hilarious to me that we act like recruiting people is a negative thing.
Oh my God, because guess what? People are always trying to recruit me. They call my phone and I'm like, how did you even get my number? Like, why does that sound like a bad thing? Like, you're right.
So here's what's funny. I look at it this way. We opened a brokerage and we took with us, like, I think 5 team members. Guess what we spent the next 12 months doing? Recruiting agents. Every brokerage does it. Here's the difference, though. All of us that were, quote unquote, recruiting agents to our brokerage, one person, the broker, 2 people, me, we were the only ones that got paid off of it.
Bingo.
Right?
Bingo.
So now,
it made sense. Like, when I started looking at the model, I was like, this eXp model makes sense. When I jumped ship from that small independent brokerage, I went to a bigger one. The reason I went is because I knew a girl already there, and she brought 3 of us with her because we was like, oh, we're going to go with you. It looks amazing. She didn't make a quarter off of us, and she's never going to make a quarter off of us.
No, exactly. And so so this sounds terrible. Lead generation and traditional broker mentality remind me of a parable from the Bible with Stalin and the chicken. Short version, the guy says, hey, how do I get my chickens to, like, stay with me? I'll feed them, blah, 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 but they keep straying. And he said, the guy tells him, you got to make them dependent on you. Pluck all their feathers. They'll be cold. They'll stick to your leg. They'll be dependent on you. In my opinion, the reason that eXp at times, one, people aren't as open-minded as they say they are. But 2, there is a dependency. I have talked with other people that say, I have to stay here. Last time I checked, we are all beautiful recipients of free will.
When I was with the independent broker, the small boutique agency, he fed us leads. And as a new agent, that seems so amazing. Like, oh my God. But I'm also always been an entrepreneur in some kind of capacity. And I said, that's a form of control, though, because he's not teaching me how to fish. And it's like, I don't know if he was doing it on purpose or he probably just didn't know, because sometimes brokers are just like hustlers, go-getters, and it works for them, but they don't have a strategy or model to give back to me to duplicate their efforts. So either way, it wasn't working for me. And I had to go. I was like, I got to learn how to fish, because without knowing how to do that, I'm going to be stuck to this person forever. And I think at eXp, that's what, and like, I've only been here since August and I'm already,
oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Just August. I'm already learning how to fish. And I was like, when all the pieces align, it's just amazing. Okay. So you're like, I'm jumping. I'm out of here. Too much overhead. This is not what I want to see. This is not the direction I'm going. And you go to eXp, even after the people you trusted around you said, no, don't do that. Something inside of you kept saying, yes, I'm going to move there. When did you switch, and what has been your experience so far?
So I left behind a brokerage I helped build, a name that I created and worked under for 1.5 years. So this was not an easy decision. So I moved in April, end of April. So it's like April 27th. My anniversary date is May 1st, right? Very prayerfully, we left by ourselves and did not try to, take with the team and take the brand and everything.
That's how you know it's
Recreated,
God, because you're gonna
right?
say,
Right.
I'm going to go without any of it.
Yeah. So we came over in May. Michigan as a whole real estate was considered non-essential. So we were shut down until May 7th. We hit the ground running though. So in June, my cap was paid. So I
So
went
let's
to,
talk about that too, because even
yep.
if you came to EXP for none of the other things, the fact
Mhm.
that every one of us, our cap is 16K.
Yep.
It's not going to change if you sold one house or if you're in this state versus your cap across the board is $16,000.
Yep. Which was one of the reasons that I loved it. And one of the reasons that lights my fire for building an organization. I am not scared of hard work. I am not
Not at
scared
all.
to help mentor people that have the exact same equal playing field as me. I learned very early on when I started my business at Berkshire. I love Berkshire. I love a lot of people there. It was a great launching tool. But I looked around and, Jane Doe, who had been there for 30 years, but only did, a million and a half or so, had a better split than I did because she'd been there 30 years. Kudos to her for being there. But for me, producing more and paying more, why do I have a crappier split than her?
Right.
Didn't dig that at
It
all.
don't make
To
sense.
me, I am a pay based on my hard work. Don't pay me based on the fact that I'm new and you want to get a paycheck off the sweat of my back. Not okay
Yep.
with me. So
Not okay. So
everyone,
everybody is fair here. Everybody,
mhm,
we make the cap is $16,000. So
yeah.
right
So
there, you're
Captain
already
June,
talking in more money.
yeah, Captain June. I had first off, I was also on a 70-30 when I started. Went to a 75-35 split. Then went to an 80-20 when we had our own brokerage, but I still had a 5% marketing fee. My compliance administrative fee of 495 that we pay here in Michigan went to my broker, right? So just sheerly based
Wow.
on numbers, I was like 16,000. I don't have a marketing fee, so I instantly am gaining back 5%. I
Yeah,
my
that's crazy.
compliance,
Even after the split, you got all these fees.
mhm, most
That's
people,
that's
most people do. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm learning that. I've
Mhm.
again in the other interview, like I was like, that's a lot of money, like
Yeah.
going out the door.
And then the I'm sorry, the and compliance fee, the 495. I mean, that doesn't sound like that big a deal, but for me, that 495, that's an extra $500 in my pocket instead of my broker's pocket,
Yep.
right? And we do that over 550 transactions. You're talking another $5,000 a year easily. And
Yep.
then that also affords me the opportunity if I want an assistant or I want to do a
Yep.
transaction coordinator or something like that. So financially, it was a no-brainer,
No
complete
brainer.
no-brainer for us. I've seen my first ever 100% check in July. I was like, what is this?
Congratulations from April. You came over in April. Your
Yeah, it was May
full
1st is
check,
when May 7th is when we start to get doing
May
business. Yeah.
7th, and your first full check happened in July because you capped.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And then the better part was so then summer was cranking along, right? So we burned through the summer craziness and then we hit Icon in 1st of September. So then the company gave us back in stock our $16,000, which I just looked the other day is now worth $28,000.
Um, that is amazing. And you know what? I have to I tell people all the time, I didn't even really understand the stock part, but the more I'm understanding this, like this is amazing. So we have an icon program that once you cap and you do so many transactions after that, or GCI, then you get your 16,000 back. So in company stock. And if you guys haven't been watching EXP, you can go do your research right now. When I joined in August, it was $20 a share. Today is the 23rd of December, a couple days before Christmas, 2020, and it's already up $80. It's $80 in stock. I looked at it last night, and maybe even more, maybe like 81,
Yeah.
something like that. So that's
Right.
a $60 difference in a couple
Yeah.
months. So
And
it's
even if it, let's say it was worth $1, right?
right.
When if it's worth $1, here's what I come to. when I left Berkshire, again, great company, great people. I have nothing bad to say. But
Yes.
because of their model, I had nothing to show for it other than a trophy.
Yep.
When I left our
And one
own
no stock to
brokerage,
give you.
right, when I left our own brokerage after doing 10 million in sales, I had a nice trophy in the commission I made. I didn't have, a dollar from every transaction. If I left eXp today, I have future money. I don't have any future money from my previous hard work
Nope.
right now, other than what I've had at eXp for 7 months. 7 months, I got an additional $28,000 right now for future
Amazing.
Coti to use. That's insane.
That's insane. It's just, and I think that we're all, because we're all everywhere saying how amazing it is, but it really is life
Mhm.
changing. It really is amazing
Absolutely.
to see what this company has done in such a short time and what they're projecting for it to do in the future. And this is the thing, even if all those projections fail and none of it happened, this present moment has been greater than any other opportunity that I
Mhm.
myself have been in alignment with
Right.
at this moment in time.
Well, look at our leadership and look at how the company. I mean, I'm a business-minded person. I came from a business background,
Yep.
and I mean that's why we've structured our business the way that we have. I mean, let's be really honest here. I believe you give it away in slices, it comes back in loaves, like Brian
Yep.
Buffini says. So that's why we've structured our
the
business
the
on a lean
harvest, the
and
harvest law of harvest, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
So our company works off of a 1.5%. Like the overhead of EXP is 1.5%. That means that literally out of that 20% before capping, every agent, only 1.5% is going to the
To them.
overhead to run this business,
Yep.
right? So you've got 17, 18 and a half going to other agents that are helping support and drive. So it's multi levels of support to every agent, right? So,
Yep.
one, our failure rate or our burnout rate, I should say, for agents is significantly lower than any other brokerage out there. The other piece is we can afford to lose, if you do the math between 100% down to this 20%, we can afford to lose over 90% as a company of what
Mm-hmm.
those revenues are and
Yep.
still be
And
profitable.
still be profitable.
That's
Yep.
insane.
It is
Nobody,
insane.
no other brokerage can say that. And not that, like I said, I don't have anything bad to say about any other brokerages, but they built a better mousetrap. They just
Yep,
have.
and that's what it was when I left my last one, because I jumped from the small brokerage to a luxury brokerage here in Chicago that has a really big name. When I moved there, when I left, I had nothing bad to say. Like me and my manager broker, he's like, Julia, if you ever need me or need to come back, you can come, because it wasn't about them. It was about seeing where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do. And I just wasn't going to be able to do it there. And even if I could, it probably would have just took longer. It just didn't make sense. So
Yeah.
that's what we started off the interview. Like sometimes people are staying where they are just because of comfort, not because it's the better option, or ego because they want to say, hey, my name's on the door. But if your name's on the door and you're upside down, then that name really ain't worth it. You know what I'm saying? So you have to kind of analyze, where do you want to be and where do you want to go? And then look at the model and see if it's something for you. So to go ahead and wrap this up, if what would you tell an agent? And I like your perspective because you bring a different perspective than I am. I didn't have my own brokerage. I went from one brokerage to one brokerage. And I've actually talked to a few people and they're like, well, I have my own brokerage. What advice would you sell to them that's sitting on a sideline, like, you know where they are because you've been there? You know they're stressed out. You know they want more freedom. You know they're not making that profit that they think they are. What would you say to them about how this can probably be the ship that's ready to take them to their next destination?
Right. No, that's a good question. Like we talked about before, and I don't I don't even mean to say this in a negative way. I think we all have some sort of ego to be in this business,
Yeah.
and ego being a confidence in ourselves, in our ability to take good care. I mean, I've said multiple times on different platforms, I will take care of my clients better than anyone else. I'll go toe to toe with any realtor in town,
Yep.
right? There's an ego to that.
Yep.
And as long as
And it
that's
can
in,
serve you at
yeah.
times. It
And
can.
I think that piece of it is fine, but I do think for those that are sitting back that are just closed off because they're like, I just want to own the hat of broker, owner, realtor, yada yada. That piece, okay. I want to be really clear. that ego will not be what serves you on your deathbed. That ego will not be what serves your retirement, right? So I go back to the me that was trying to make that decision, that was like, I birthed this concept, this is my baby,
Yeah.
this is, and I don't know how many times I prayerfully sat there and tried to be still and say, okay, what am I supposed to do, right?
Yep.
And it just kept coming back to me where I'm like, it doesn't serve you to only serve you. It doesn't.
Ooh,
We
that's
have
a
to serve
good one, Cody. I got chills. It doesn't
God.
serve you to only serve you. Oh,
So I would tell you, if somebody's looking, look at an EXP. I think a lot of us did it. You don't diss the opportunity until you really can whole 100% sit down and say, I openly looked at this. I explored my avenues. I talked to different people, right? I looked at not how does this just serve just myself now, because that's the other thing. How does it serve your family later?
yep.
If I would have, this is a really dark thing to think about, but if I would have stayed at a current brokerage before and passed away, the outlook for my family from my real estate business would have been dramatically different than what it looks like right now.
That's powerful. That is so powerful, Cody. And I love that because that's truth. It's truth. So, and it's something else I wanted, like the amount of research I put in before I made the jump. If I would have did that with other brokerage, I wouldn't have been there. It was so easy to do what was traditional and what everybody else have done. It was so much harder to go outside of that. And I researched the hell out of EXP. And like I said, if I would have done those other brokerage like that, I would have never have been with them. So
Yeah.
thank you so much, Cody, for showing
Thank
up.
you.
I really appreciate it. And if you guys are tuning in, if you want to connect with either one of us, you can find us on social media. I'll be sure to put some links in there if you want to have any further conversations with us. So thanks
Awesome.
again. All
Thank you so
right.
much.